If you're new here, this is my 1970 Mustang Coupe, a car I bought back in 2020 after always dreaming of having a project car to call my own. Like a lot of Facebook Marketplace deals, it turned out I was really buying someone else's unfinished project, and all the problems that came with it. Valve train issues, poor compression, and terrible shifting, pretty much the whole 9 yards of issues started to hit me all at once. And to top it off, the engine was tired, and I mean really tired. Every time I took something out, I did not want to put it back in, and it ended up turning into taking the whole engine and transmission out. That ended up snowballing into me building my engine inside my apartment. Yes, on carpet. I redid the crank, stuck with oversized bearings, and boarded over 30, so nothing really crazy to be honest. But it was my first engine build and I was proud of it regardless of what was inside. In the last few videos, we moved the engine from my apartment all the way over to my shop where we started to assemble everything on the top end. In the last video, we ended up putting the entire valve train as well as the intake and carburetor on. Today, I plan to get everything mated up and ready to go into the car. So it was really time to get to work. But before I started, I needed to figure out a way to move the transmission up and down, and I didn't have a transmission jack. My solution was to quite literally use a jack and put sheet metal on it. Little wobbly, but it'll work. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the cherry picker, and once we do that, I'm gonna find the connecting points that I wanna use on the engine and go ahead and get it off of the stand and possibly get it down and connected with the transmission tonight. So it was time to find Old Reliable, which is this super old cherry picker. The wheels don't quite work and neither do the hydraulics, but we're gonna give it a shot. But first things first, I'm gonna get this off, this in. I'm gonna use the weird welded things that I put together for the engine stands, and then I'm gonna try to get the transmission connected. Now, I have no idea if this is the right way to do it or not, but I found 4 holes on the heads that I used to connect to the cherry picker. The bolt holes seem fine, and I even went and picked up this balancer to maneuver the weight transfer where it's balanced in midair, and it worked out great. After getting a few bolts out, the stand was able to come off. By the way, I only have one header because I bought them from China and one side did not fit. Everything else was going great, but things were about to get sketchy. All right, this either works out really good or really bad. These aren't the most well-engineered things in the world. And then came the moment that I regretted most of all. Just kidding. The cylinder really sucks on this thing, so it's hard to control. No way. Something I made actually works? That is wild. Because I was working in such a small space, I had to maneuver around quite a few times. I moved the cherry picker to the other side so that I had access to put the transmission on, tightened a few bolts up, and then got to cranking on the flywheel with some Loctite bolts. Okay, sorry keyboard warriors, this is a flex plate. I messed it up. Don't kill me, please. And yes, I am using an impact, but I'm not impacting the bolts on. I made sure to torque everything down to the correct specs so that it didn't fly off and turn into a flywheel. Next comes the torque converter, which is what takes the power from your engine and turns it into rotational force in the transmission. If you're curious, you need to spin it around until it seats in 3 different positions.
Just comes and drifts away. Yeah.
Okay, that was extremely hard, but I think everything is lined up and perfectly fitting. The flex plate only goes on one way. I went ahead and finger tightened all of the bolts just to hold it in place because this shit is heavy. I went underneath, turned it over a couple times, and saw that all of the bolts on the flex plate and the torque converter are lining up perfectly. As far as I can tell, everything should be good to go then. I should be able to tighten everything down with the torque converter and the flex plate, and then the transmission and the engine are officially mated. Now that's just step 1 of 1,000. There's a lot more to do. The engine still needs to go in, it still needs to start and run properly, as well as the transmission, which isn't my complete forte. It was a little nerve-wracking trying to rebuild that, but I think everything went all right. Hopefully all the seals and everything are still good to go on the inside as it has been sitting for a while, but I think we're good to go. Little did I know we were not good to go. The transmission had been sitting for a while, and it turns out that I was having some issues with the throttle kickdown cable. it's not really kicking down as much as I feel like it should. Pushing it up, this is all of the spring that I have. I know there is a little bit of space where that throttle kickdown linkage can go backwards, so maybe that's what this extra play right here is that's bringing it back. I'm gonna have to open this up again and see if I can't remember how it goes. So I went ahead and dropped the valve body here, and everything looks like it's going okay. It's just hard to tell if the actuation that's happening on that is enough. Like this little lever right here is what pushes down with the throttle kickdown. Before I go too far, let me explain what this actually is. The throttle kickdown cable has the job of telling the transmission how much throttle I'm giving the engine at any given time. So basically, when I press the gas harder, the cable lets the transmission know that it should hold the gears longer or downshift when needed, or just shift the way it's supposed to under load. If the cable is out of adjustment, disconnected, or not working right, the transmission can shift way too early, way too late, feel lazy, or just act plain weird. Don't ask me how I know that this mechanism is extremely important on a 700R4. It's a really touchy subject. So with that in mind, I got right to work on finding a solution. But right away, something seemed a little bit weird. Run into a pretty big issue. I'm not exactly ecstatic about it. So I figured out that that throttle linkage is actually making contact with the top of the valve body. Now, when I'm referring to the piece, it would be this piece right here. This piece makes contact with that and allows you to drop the gear when it hits that valve. Now, when it's up loosely, I can tell it's in place because it gets a good spring back, feels good, but when I tighten it all the way down, it starts making contact and you can feel that it gets stuck. Throughout the process of this build, I've run into a ton of similar issues like this, but it's all a part of the learning experience, and it's not always the nicest learning experience. Problems like this can be extremely frustrating, but at the end of the day, there's always a solution. Okay. That was a process and a half. I got the valve body back up, grinded down that arm. Everything's clearing good. As you can see, everything seems to be pushing good as well. I've got the kickdown linkage semi hooked up. Obviously, when the throttle gets pulled down, it pulls that cable, which in turn pulls that. Seems to be functioning as it should. I think I have just about everything I want to get on it right now. Okay, it was 90 degrees. It was just me putting this all together with my last two brain cells, so don't judge me for this next part. Don't know how I'm gonna get this into the car. It is just about a few inches away from even clearing the top of the car here. In fact, I have it weighted down with this piece of steel. Yep. So, there that goes. Well, I just dropped the engine on the floor, so that's great. Doesn't look like anything is dented though. I think we're good. So, we all make mistakes, and as a one-man team, there's a lot of variables that can be overlooked pretty easily. Luckily, it only seems like this dropped a few inches, so I don't think there's any lasting damage. If you think that anything could have happened, please let me know down in the comments. Unfortunately, this is maxed out as far as it can go. And this is just barely not clearing over. I'm gonna tilt up the transmission first and lift it over this ledge and get that inside. And once that's inside, I'll take the load leveler and push it back so that this side starts to tip up. And then I think I'll have to try to lift the engine over a little bit too. Okay, that was a lot. I've got it, I think, in a good position. It should go in fine and dandy now. Fine and dandy certainly were the wrong words for this. After fighting to get the drivetrain in the correct position, I was finally able to start to bolt in the engine mounts as well as the transmission mounts. But those bolts did not want to go in easy, and they fought me every step of the way. Okay, so I've got everything pretty much bolted in and good to go. I'm almost certain that this is the way that the transmission mount is supposed to go in. Unfortunately, I don't remember. And I got most of everything tied down, or at the very least, bolted in and loosely sitting there. Now, part of the reason that it's loosely sitting there is I've only got 3 of my engine mount bolts actually snugged into the block. The third one is like half of a shim off, and I can't figure out why. I don't know if the jack stands are just slightly off-centered or a little bit unlevel, I guess. That's about all I have in me for today. Moving an engine and transmission alone, especially with a absolute basket case of a cherry picker. Sorry me, I had to finish that one out because your brain cells were not working anymore. Anyways, like I said, I think that is gonna be it for today. I'm super proud of the progress that we've made. We got the transmission together, all of the necessary hardware on, everything torqued down to spec. Not only did we do that, but we also got the entire driveline into the car all alone. I think for a first-time engine, transmission, and car builder in general, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. I've probably made a ton of mistakes, and I'm sure that you guys can let me know in the comments below. But you don't learn how to do anything without trying first. Anyways, follow along to see some more content on this build in the future. I've got some big plans, and I'm excited to see where it takes us.